দাং দেবী রামকৃষ্ণং জগদ্গুরুং পাদপদ্মে তয়ো স্থিত্বা প্রণমামি মুহুর্মুহুঃ। স্বামী ভূতেশানন্দজি স্মারক বক্তৃতা। মহারাজজি দ্বাদশ সংঘাধ্যক্ষ, দীর্ঘ 97 বছরের মহৎ জীবন। 1901 খ্রিস্টাব্দের 8ই সেপ্টেম্বর বাঁকুড়া জেলার সোমসার গ্রামে জন্মগ্রহণ করেন। বাবার নাম পূর্ণচন্দ্র রায়, মায়ের নাম চারুবালা। পূর্বাশ্রমের নাম ছিল বিজয়। মঠ জীবনেও দেখা গেছে তপস্যার প্রতি তার প্রবল আকর্ষণ। ছাত্রাবস্থায় বাগবাজারে থাকার সময় শ্রী মায়ের জন্মতিথিতে জ্ঞান মহারাজের সঙ্গে গিয়ে উদ্বোধনে শ্রী মাকে দর্শন করেন। তিনি শ্রীরামকৃষ্ণের 10 জন সন্ন্যাসী পার্ষদ এবং 2 জন গৃহী পার্ষদের পূত সঙ্গ লাভ করেছিলেন। 1919 খ্রিস্টাব্দে শ্যামবাজার বিদ্যাসাগর বিদ্যালয় থেকে 7টি বিষয়ের মধ্যে 5টিতে লেটার নিয়ে স্টার পেয়ে বিজয় এন্ট্রান্স পাস করেন। 1921 খ্রিস্টাব্দে 2 বছর পর তিনি প্রথম বিভাগে স্কলারশিপ পেয়ে আইএ পাস করেন। 1923 খ্রিস্টাব্দে বিএ পরীক্ষার শেষ দিন পরীক্ষার হল থেকেই সোজা চলে গেলেন বেলুড় মঠে। ওই বছরই মহাপুরুষ মহারাজ বিজয়কে ব্রহ্মচর্য দীক্ষা দিলেন। তার নাম হলো প্রিয় চৈতন্য। মহাপুরুষ মহারাজের কাছেই তার সন্ন্যাস দীক্ষা হয় এবং তিনি আমাদের ভূতেশানন্দজি। 1923 খ্রিস্টাব্দ থেকে তার নিয়মিতভাবে মঠ জীবন শুরু হয়। মঠ জীবনের প্রথম পর্বে প্রায় 12 বছর ধরে পূজনীয় স্বামী শুদ্ধানন্দজি মহারাজের কাছে তিনি শাস্ত্র অধ্যয়ন করেন। তিনি মঠের সকল সাধু ব্রহ্মচারীকেও শাস্ত্র অনুশীলনে প্রেরণা দিতেন। তার জীবন ছিল জ্ঞান কর্ম ভক্তির এক সুষম সমন্বয়। ঢাকা, শিলং, চেরাপুঞ্জি, রাজকোট আশ্রমটি গড়ে তোলা তার স্মরণযোগ্য কীর্তি। বাংলাদেশের মুক্তিযুদ্ধের সময় যে বিশাল সংখ্যক উদ্বাস্তু ভারতে এসেছিল তাদের জন্য বিরাট ত্রাণ কার্যটি তিনি পরিচালনা করেছিলেন। 1975 খ্রিস্টাব্দে এপ্রিলে তিনি রামকৃষ্ণ সংঘের অন্যতম সহসংঘাধ্যক্ষ নির্বাচিত হন এবং 1989 এবছর সংঘের দ্বাদশ সংঘগুরুর দায়িত্ব গ্রহণ করেন। 1998 খ্রিস্টাব্দে 10ই আগস্ট তিনি মহাসমাধি যোগে শ্রীরামকৃষ্ণলোকে যাত্রা করেন। মহারাজ ছিলেন অসাধারণ রসবোধের মানুষ। গুরুরূপে তিনি ভক্তদের শ্রী শ্রী ঠাকুর মায়ের শ্রীপদে নিবেদন করেছেন। তিনি ভক্তদের ঠাকুর মা এদের শ্রীপদে নিবেদন করেছেন। বারবার বলেছেন শ্রীরামকৃষ্ণ পার্শ্বদেরা সকলেই শ্রী শ্রীরামকৃষ্ণকেই গুরু এবং ইষ্ট একাধারে ভাববেন। সেই অনুসারে তার সঙ্গের দীক্ষা গুরুরা কেউ নিজেকে গুরু বলে জাহির করেন না। তারা নিজেদের শ্রীরামকৃষ্ণের সাধন ধারার ধারক ও বাহক মাত্র মনে করেন। স্বামী ভূতেশানন্দজি স্মারক বক্তৃতা ডাক্তার গৌর দাসের পৃষ্ঠপোষকতায় আয়োজিত। আজ স্বামী ভূতেশানন্দ স্মারক বক্তৃতা দেবেন স্বামী নরসিংহানন্দজি মহারাজ। উনি এখানে আগে এসেছেন, ব্রহ্মচারী অবস্থায় বক্তৃতা দিয়েছেন। আমাদের ছোটো ছোটো বক্তৃতা যেগুলি হতো, অদ্বৈত আশ্রমে ছিলেন এবং তারপরে মায়াবতী চলে যান। ওখানে গত 6 বছর ছিলেন, 6 বছর পত্রিকার প্রবুদ্ধ ভারত পত্রিকার সম্পাদক ছিলেন 6 বছর। তারপর এখন সম্পাদক রামকৃষ্ণ মিশন সেবাশ্রম কালিকট, ক্যালিকট যাই বলি না কেন, কালিকট, কেরালা। তার বিষয় আমাদের চৈতন্যের তিনটি অবস্থা, তিনটি স্তর, 3 states of consciousness. তা মহারাজ অত্যন্ত সুবক্তা, আপনারা যারা শুনেছেন তারা জানেন, অত্যন্ত সুবক্তা। আমি সুবক্তা বলছি না, অত্যন্ত সুবক্তা। বক্তব্য বিষয়টিকে তিনি অত্যন্ত স্পষ্ট করে দেন এবং ভালো মানুষ, ভালো সাধু জীবন, আর বাচনভঙ্গি সুন্দর, বালকের মতো কথাবার্তা বলেন, বালক স্বভাব এখনও, বালক ভাব এখনও যায়নি এবং আমার মনে হয় কোনোদিনই যাবে না। আমাদের অত্যন্ত প্রিয় ভাই, নামটাও ভালো, সন্ন্যাস নাম নয় যেটা বলছি, পূর্বাশ্রমের নাম সুধাকর, সুধার আকর, অমৃতের আকর, অমৃতের খনি। তা আমি তাকে অনুরোধ করছি তার বক্তব্য শুরু করার জন্য। 1 ঘন্টা সময় আমাদের, আরও আগেও শেষ করতে পারো, ওখানেও করতে পারো, এখানেও আসতে পারো, কৃপা দেন।
ॐ जननीं शारदां देवीं रामकृष्णं जगद्गुरुं पादपद्मे तयो श्रुत्वा प्रणमामि मुहुर्मुहुः. I offer my pranams to revered Swami Suparnananda Ji Maharaj and my hearty namaskars. Good evening to all of you who have come here. The topic is 3 states of consciousness. As we all know, nowadays this topic of consciousness has gained worldwide interest, particularly because of not natural intelligence, but because of artificial intelligence. How artificial intelligence, which is essentially a replication, an imitation of natural intelligence, how this field of knowledge and also technology has an overarching influence on our lives, of which most of us are even not aware of. At this point in the history of humankind, we see many people writing on the topic of consciousness. You might all know from this institute, there are 5 books which are proceedings of the seminars held 5 times. When Swami Prabhananda Ji was the secretary of this institute, Swami Prabhananda Ji used to like this topic much, and he conducted 5 conferences, international conferences, of which books have been published. When we go through all the proceedings of these conferences, we are amazed at how different perspectives of this issue, of this concept, is available. And it's only increasing, and the differences are also increasing. The depth of research into this topic is also increasing. Today, because it's a huge topic, today we will restrict ourselves to the Advaita Vedanta standpoint of consciousness, mostly as found in the Mandukya Upanishad and also as found in the commentary on the Mandukya Upanishad, which was given by the grand guru of Bhagavad Pada Shankaracharya, Adi Shankaracharya, that is Gaudapada Acharya. And that is Mandukya Karika. Karika refers to the kind of text which it comprises of. That is called Karika. And it is a commentary on the Mandukya Upanishad, and that is why it is called Mandukya Karika. What does the word Mandukya mean? Mandukya word has been derived from the Sanskrit word Manduka, which is there in most of the Indian languages, which means a frog. Just as a frog leaps from one leaf to the other, one place to the other, similarly, in the course of a day, we leap from one state of consciousness to the other state of consciousness. And since this Upanishad, taken from the Atharva Veda, which is, one could say, the smallest of Upanishads, having only 12 mantras, this talks about these three states of consciousness and our true nature being the fourth state, which it says is Chaturtha, also called as Turiya. Before going into the topic itself, I would like to clarify why we use, or why am I using today, the word consciousness. Because if you go to French philosophy, or if you study German philosophy, we find both German philosophers, French philosophers, and other philosophers of the continent using words from their native languages without giving any translation. One example being Weltanschauung, which is a German word, and they don't want to translate it because they believe that in translation, the meaning of the word is lost. In English, as far as Indian philosophers are concerned, it has been a practice. Let us not go into whether it is correct, proper or not, but it has been a practice to use English words to denote Indian philosophical concepts. Strictly speaking, consciousness as understood by the West, again, the category, when I say West, I mean the continent and the United States or the Americas. As understood by these philosophers, it has a different meaning. It has the meaning of, generally, the ability to respond to stimuli. And that's what is said is conscious. Whereas, as we all know, we are all aware of, Advaita Vedanta, where only consciousness is. That means this microphone, which is now transmitting my voice, is conscious. The table is conscious. The bottle of water which is in front of me is conscious. Everything is conscious. And only consciousness is. That idea definitely would not come to most of us who have all been essentially schooled in the European system of education, and most of us, unfortunately, have not had the time or resources to study Indian philosophy in depth. So here I am using this word consciousness to mean, as Swami Suparanandaji in his Bengali introduction put it, to mean Chaitanya. It can also be called Sakshi, that witness which is witnessing everything, but does not have any name or form. Here, consciousness, we all experience three states of consciousness, which are essentially at the level of ignorance, on the plane of ignorance. And what are they? We all know. One is waking state. So waking state, which I hope now most of you are in. And the second state is dreaming state. And the third one is dreamless state, which in Sanskrita is called, or they are called Jagrata, waking, Swapna, dream, and dreamless sushupti. And parallelly, if we were to see the physiological or medical terminology for that, then the waking period of our day is called, of course, wakefulness or waking. And dream is called rapid eye movement phase of sleep, REM phase of sleep. And there is this deep sleep, which is called non-REM, non-rapid eye movement phase of sleep. If somebody is sleeping and you chance to go near that person, can actually tell whether that person is dreaming or not by looking at the person's eyeballs. If they are moving, that means that person is dreaming. If they are not moving, that person is not dreaming. But in the Indian cosmology, particularly in the Vedanta, that too particularly in the Advaita Vedanta cosmology, this has been connected with various other things. Any living being has three bodies. One is the gross body, another one is the subtle body, and the third one is the causal body. The gross body is called Sthula Sharira, the subtle body is called Sukshma Sharira, and the third body is called the causal Sharira or Karana Sharira. Now, these three bodies are how we identify ourselves when on the plane of ignorance. Because of ignorance we have been born, and we identify ourselves with either of these, one of these three bodies. So when we are awake, we identify with all these three bodies. That is, the gross body, Sthula Sharira, the subtle body, Sukshma Sharira, and the causal body, Karana Sharira. When we go into dream, our gross body goes out of our control. So then we have what is called Sukshma Sharira and Karana Sharira. In deep sleep, which has been a period of sleep which has fascinated everyone, including people who practice or research medicine, who are biologists, philosophers, cognitive scientists, everyone has been fascinated by this deep sleep. The Upanishads say that what is this deep sleep? So in this deep sleep something remained, something which is quite distinct from our bodies, our sense organs, our mind, that remained. And we experience joy. And so, when we come back to either the waking state or the dream state, then we infer that probably we had joy in that deep sleep. So in hindsight we infer. We don't know when that happens. Now, in Advaita Vedanta cosmology, it is said that when this universe came, basically it's not a linear philosophy, so everything is cyclical. When this universe is produced, also as in a cyclical process, then first space is produced, Akasha, space is produced. And Akasha has sound as its sense object. Akasha has sound associated with it, and we all know we hear using our ears or the hearing mechanism. This sound, the first sound that was produced, is Om, Pranava, it is called. And Upanishads emphasize this Pranava, they give much emphasis on this. They say that if you meditate on this Pranava, you will understand your true nature. You will realize the ultimate truth, as it is called, or also called as self, Brahman, Atman, God, so on and so forth. So this Om is again then divided into the 3 letters or syllables which it is made up of. A, U and Ma. Om. A is connected to the waking state. U is connected to the dreaming state. And Ma is connected to the dreamless sleep. Also, in Advaita Vedanta we believe that a person's true nature, that is consciousness, absolute consciousness, is superimposed because of ignorance. It's superimposed by variety of names and forms, essentially because of ignorance. So that ignorance, when this, at the plane of ignorance, this consciousness is superimposed, and such superimposed consciousness, again, it is divided into 2 aspects. That is the individual aspect, called in Sanskrit as Vyashti, and the collective aspect, which is called as Samashti. So, when this Chaitanya, or consciousness, which is limited, superimposed, that consciousness operates at the individual level in the waking state. It is called Vaishvanara. It is called Vaishvanara. When such qualified consciousness, so this superimposition is sometimes also referred to as qualified, limited qualification. So when this qualified consciousness operates in the waking state at a collective level, one of these standard objections against the concept that this entire universe, as we see it, is an illusion, there is this stock objection that how can it be an illusion? Because in this hall, I am seeing all of you and you are also seeing me. So how can that be an illusion? That's an objection. So the answer is that is the collective ignorance. Ignorance has 2 planes. One is the individual and the other one the collective. So it is because of the collective ignorance that all of you are seeing the same microphone, you're seeing the same lights, chairs. And so when at the collective level in the waking state, this consciousness is superimposed, that superimposed consciousness is called Virat. It is all connected to the letter A. And when we go to understand dream, it is interesting how Advaita Vedanta or Acharyas of Advaita Vedanta portray it. They say whatever happens during the waking state is exactly what happens during the dream. Only difference being that in the waking state, everything happens externally, and in dream, everything happens internally. So in waking state, your consciousness is drawn outside of you, so to say. It's called Bahish Prajna. So Prajna, your consciousness, is outside. The Kathopanishad puts it quite poetically. In Kathopanishad, the Upanishad says, Paranchi Khani Vyatranat Swayambhu. All of you are aware of this mantra. So, all the sense organs have been destroyed by Swayambhu God, or there is a manufacturing defect, if you may. What is that manufacturing defect? The manufacturing defect is parang tasmat parang pashyati na antaratman. Therefore, all the sense organs, they see only the external things, not inside. We can see so many things with or without spectacles, but it is not possible for us to see our own body, for which we have to get all kinds of tests like MRI, CT scan. You cannot hear your own heartbeat unless, of course, you go to Mayavati, where at some times in the day or night you can. But otherwise, you need a stethoscope or you need ECG or some such other method. So this is a manufacturing defect by the God himself or herself. So that is why in the waking state we can only see what is external. Whereas in dream, all that external world is seen inside of you. And the arguments are quite interesting. In the Mandukya Karika, one argument is, how do you say this dream is not true? Then the argument is, what do you dream? Suppose you dream an elephant, say. An elephant you dream. How can elephant be inside your body? It's not possible. So therefore, what you dream is illogical because of lack of space. You dream inside, anta prajna. So if it is inside you, then there is no space for dreaming so much, and therefore it is illogical and not real. The other argument is, there is no time. In dream, we can go to Greenland or Gagaland, wherever you want to go. You can go wherever you want, Disneyland, and you can return also. You don't need to buy tickets, you don't need to fly. All these you don't need to do. So the time, somehow that time does not match. And so, again, it is illogical, therefore it is not real. And what is more interesting than that is in the next verse itself, Mandukya Karika says that the waking state is also unreal because the same thing happens there also. Only it happens externally, that's all. That is the argument given. So, in this waking state, the Mandukya Upanishad says that you have 7 limbs, you have 19 mouths. And what are the 7 limbs? 7 limbs are the head, the eyes, nose, and the torso of the body, trunk of the body, and the system of excretion, and the 2 feet. These are the 7 limbs. The idea of the number 7 has come from Agnihotra Yajna. In the Vedas, we find a sacrifice, Vedic sacrifice or Vedic ritual called the Agnihotra. Agnihotram juhuyat swarga kamaha. Those who want to go to heaven should practice Agnihotra Yajna. And that Agnihotra Yajna, while describing Agni, it is said that it has Sapta Jivva, 7 tongues. Taking that cue from there, in this Upanishad, it is said that a person has got 7 limbs in interacting with the world. And there are 19 mukhas or 19 mouths. What are they? 5 organs of action, 5 organs of sense or knowledge, 5 pranas, and 4 which are called Sukshma Sharira, that is Manas, Buddhi, Ahankara, and Chitta. And so 19. These 19 mukhas or 19 mouths and 7 limbs continue to remain in the Swapna Avastha also. That means in the state of dreaming also. So only thing is, that is a version which is inside you. That means it is a version which has a different world. And the other version is what makes you see or interact with the external world. Then we go to Swapna. What is dream? It is exactly the same, only thing is it is inside you. And it is connected with our Sukshma Sharira, subtle body. So when we die, what happens? When we die, this gross body is destroyed. Ceases to exist like as a living body. But the subtle body goes and identifies itself with some other body. That is the idea. And in the Upanishads it has also been said that a subtle body, which is the individual soul in ignorance of its true nature, acts like a leech. So if you see a leech usually moves like this. It'll keep a part like that, one end here, and then sense like this, and keep the other part there and move like that. So the Upanishads, they give the example of this leech. For a long time I thought, I think many people think that this part which is used for sensing is its head, but it is not. It is its tail. So the tail is kept like that, and then one comes. So the idea is that the individual soul first identifies or understands which body to take, and only then leaves the existing body. People who are attached too much to the present body or present lifetime, they get much difficulty. They find it much difficult to leave this body. And those people are those whom we call ghosts, etc. Sri Ramakrishna talks about that. Swami Brahmanandaji talks about ghosts, and Swami Vivekananda also says how he has interacted with ghosts. Anyway, most of us don't know about that, and whenever we go in search of ghost stories, somebody says that I heard from somebody who heard from somebody and all that. But this is how it is told in the philosophy of Advaita Vedanta. Moving on, this qualified consciousness, limited consciousness in the state of dreaming, as found in the individual level, at the individual level, is called Taijasa. And at the collective level, it is called Hiranyagarbha. We all know the word Hiranya means golden, and Garbha here means womb. So golden womb, which is sometimes compared to a golden egg. It seems the entire universe has come from a golden egg. And there also, 7 limbs are there and 19 mouths are there. And then you have this other idea that which comes from medical science, that a person needs dreaming. One needs to dream every day. It is a rest which the mind needs. And it seems, after much research, they have found out that on an average we dream for 1.5 hours every day. 90 minutes every day we dream. And that is essential. And dreams can be various kinds of dreams. Some very rarely are lucid. And some people, they know that they are dreaming. While they dream, they know that they are dreaming. And this, again, going to neuroscience, because we have much technology to actually study, and also many people who volunteer themselves for this research. And there is significant literature on this. It seems it is difficult to really pinpoint, or the states of waking and sleep, that is the dreaming state of the sleep, dreaming phase of the sleep, which is called rapid eye movement phase. It seems they are almost similar. There's a difference, but otherwise they are almost similar. And so it is difficult to, at any point in time, to tell whether a person is waking or dreaming. And I don't know whether this is the reason, but in Indian spirituality, we all know, many people, that is many philosophers, they also practitioners, spiritual practitioners, they consider this world as a dream. And in many scriptures, it is told that a person who attains the knowledge of the ultimate reality, Brahman or Atman, God, considers this world or this universe, this manifested world, as dream, Swapnavat. And we are all aware, when Narendranath Datta used to go to Sri Ramakrishna, Sri Ramakrishna asked him whether you look at this world as dream. And he said yes. So that is again a high state of spiritual evolution. And also there is this story we find in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, Kathamrita, that there was a farmer who got a son much later in his life, and then he slept, and then one morning he went to his field, was working there, and when he returned, he found his son to be dead. He was ill and he died. But he was not crying. So his wife got upset and he said, "What kind of a cruel person you are, or heartless person you are. You are not even crying. Your son, who was born with great difficulty, has died, but you are not crying." Then he said, "See, I am not really understanding. For whom should I cry? Because last night I had a dream. I dreamt of myself becoming a king. I had 7 princes, and then they have all gone because I woke up. So now whether I should cry for those 7 princes or whether I should cry for this son." There also, Sri Ramakrishna says that jnanis, or spiritual seekers who follow the path of knowledge, they consider this world as a dream. So there are many such illustrations where dreaming and waking are considered on a par, and there are many neuroscientists who believe that it is really difficult, because both waking and REM phase of sleep, they have high activation levels, but there is some difference in the modulation. It's called modulation, brain modulation, and also input-output levels. Otherwise, they're all same. So it's difficult to really understand. But dream is important. Many people come with this regular expression that, no, we don't dream. I don't have any dream. I go to sleep and I get up without any dream. It seems only when you are dreaming and you get up while you are dreaming, you will remember that dream. Otherwise, you will not. So it is not possible for a person to have a proper psychological, neurological system without having dream. So if a person does not have dream for some reason, for some malfunction in the body or brain, then that person will completely be destabilized after a couple of days. So dream is necessary. Now, then comes the third state of consciousness, which is called Sushupti, and which has been an enigma all the time. Most people have not been able to understand what happens there, because we don't have an experience happening there. We can't experience anything there. In fact, the Mandukya Upanishad gives a negative definition of Sushupti, because in Sushupti you cannot do anything. So the Mandukya Upanishad simply says that where one does not desire anything, where one does not do anything, that is deep sleep. Where one does not see a dream, that is deep sleep. A negative definition. In that state, that is connected, like the dreaming phase of sleep, Swapna Avastha, is connected to the letter U in Om, or syllable U in Om. The syllable Ma is connected to the dreamless phase of sleep. And there, the qualified consciousness, or the consciousness which is superimposed, consciousness, that is called Prajna at the individual level, and called Ishvara at the collective level. So what is it? It is Prajnana Ghana, means it's a mass of consciousness. There is no second. It is absolute, means it is not absolute like the absolute reality, but there is no second. Interestingly, neuroscience has done great research on this phase of sleep, and they found out that there are 3 stages of the non-rapid eye movement phase of sleep. So the first stage, where the EEG, electroencephalograph also, that is a graph which studies the activity of your brain. That there the activity is the highest in this deep sleep Sushupti. Then there is a middle level activity, then there is a low level activity, which is understood by the amplitude of that graph. So there are 3 stages. But in all of these 3 stages, you cannot experience anything. It's only an inference. After you have the Sushupti, after you have deep sleep, as in the Upanishad it is said, the person realizes that I slept well and I enjoyed or experienced joy. So that is why I was there in the deep sleep. That is the kind of inference which you make. Now, this Atma, which is our true reality, it is there in all these 3 states. It is there in all these 3 states of consciousness and beyond also. These 3 states of consciousness are there on the plane of ignorance. Only when we are ignorant, we sleep, we dream, and we are awake. But when we are not ignorant, then we are awake all the time. When we get the knowledge of who we really are, or the knowledge of Brahman or self, then we would be awake all the time. We know that we are dreaming. We know that we are dreaming while being awake. We know that we are in deep sleep. And that 4th stage, it's called Turiya, where the syllable associated with Om is silence. So when you chant Om, one has to give equal time for all the syllables, like like that. And then afterwards, equal time of silence. So this silence denotes Turiya. It denotes Turiya, or your true nature. So a person who knows, who is experiencing these 3 states of consciousness and what is being experienced there. We saw in deep sleep, nothing is being experienced. So a person who knows that becomes unattached, becomes free from attachment. And it is only one entity, or that one Brahman, which is associated with these three states of experience. Though we say there are three bodies, but in reality, all these three bodies are just an illusion. In reality, only one Atma confuses itself to be, or because of ignorance, it appears that these three states exist. There is another interesting observation. Any logic will operate only on the plane of ignorance. We all are quite proud of logic, how logical we are, etc. But Advaita Vedanta says that logic operates only on the plane of ignorance. That means when you are experiencing illusion, it's only then that logic will operate. Logic in itself cannot operate, cannot make any sense. Also, only on the plane of ignorance can there be cause and effect. Cause and effect. So if there is something quite structured and quite going on in a cyclical fashion, organized manner, that means it is an illusion. So only illusion will operate like that. But there are illusions within illusions. Right? Most of us are, because one example, I don't know how many of you are aware of, there is a virtual reality game or augmented reality game called Second Stage, where you have a personality. Suppose you couldn't become so whatever you couldn't become in your life, you can become whatever you want there. And people play that game for days together. That means they have enough money, otherwise how they can play for days together. And then you can earn money, you can have friends, and you can have property, all that. So there are cases where people committed suicide because they were not doing well in that game. In reality, they were doing well. So it went on so intense that Columbia University Press brought out a research book on this game, and it is called Second Life. So it's a second stage. That book is called Second Life. The game is called Second Stage. Now, there can be illusions within illusions. Nonetheless, all these illusions are having the system of cause and effect, which will work only in an illusion. So, what is deep sleep? There are many philosophical schools who believe that since deep sleep is the closest we come to our true reality. So in deep sleep, it seems the curtain of ignorance or the covering of ignorance is the least or the most thinnest in that stage. So some schools of philosophy believe that this experience of deep sleep has to be increased. So you will be closer to your true reality. I don't know whether it is logical. That would mean that one has to go and sleep more and have more of sushupti. But I don't think sushupti can be controlled like that. So this deep sleep, where the individual consciousness limited by ignorance is called prajna, there it is a total ignorance according to Advaita Vedanta, because there not only you don't know yourself, which you don't know in all these three states, but you also don't know about the other objects. And there is no perception of duality, of course, but it is completely ignorance. Whereas turiya, that is your true nature, there also there is no perception of duality, but it is a state of knowledge. There is no ignorance. So that is the only difference between Sushupti and Turiya. Now, some time ago in 2014, a philosopher called Evan Thompson, he published a book which was received well across the world, and that book is titled Waking, Dreaming, Being. That book was published from the Columbia University Press. And this Evan Thompson is a philosopher, but he is also a practicing Buddhist. Much before that, there was a book called Zen and the Brain. A neuroscientist called Austin James wrote that book. And he is a Zen practitioner. We find many Buddhist traditions coming out with interesting research on these three states of consciousness. Of course, the philosophy will vary very much from Advaita Vedanta, because the concept of self or Atma in Buddhism is quite different from the concept of self or Atma or Brahman in Advaita Vedanta. But it's an interesting study. In the book Waking, Dreaming and Being, Evan Thompson talks of neuroscience, he talks about computer science, how consciousness is viewed by all these different disciplines. And there he also talks about an interesting discipline, much new. It's called neurophenomenology. It's called neurophenomenology, which is a synthesis, as you can well imagine, of neurology, neuroscience, and phenomenology. Phenomenology is the study of experience from the point of view of the experiencer. And neurology or neuroscience is the study of brain. So experience studied from the perspective of neuroscience is called neurophenomenology. And there have been interesting studies on how this sleep, dream, and waking states are seen by people. And for that they select usually people who have enough control over their minds. There is no point in studying a person who does not have any control over the mind, even otherwise. So a person who is able to control means people who have been meditating for a long time, say for 3,000 hours or 4,000 hours. Such people are selected as volunteers and these experiments are done. Now, a person who has viveka, a person who has what is called discernment, who can discern between the real and the unreal, who can find out the real from the unreal. That person, and a person who has a steady mind, unwavering mind, that person understands that it is the same Atma or Brahman which is there in all these different states. And this universe, the reason this universe exists is because we need to understand our true nature. The very cause of ignorance is to make us understand who we are. And that's why there are schools of thought which will say that that's why there is suffering in this world. So that experiencing suffering, you understand that there is something seriously wrong with the condition you are in, and you try to get out of that by understanding who really you are. So this kind of discernment, viveka, by observing and studying three states of consciousness, it is called avastha traya viveka, which is a traditional practice in Advaita Vedanta tradition, where you go through all these states which even otherwise everyone goes through, but then you are discerning about that. You become quite alert about that. And then you practice that. It's called Avasthatraya Viveka. Some people have this question whether Sushupti is the same as coma. So neuroscientists say that Sushupti is not same as coma. No. Because in coma, the response to stimuli is almost not there. Whereas in Sushupti, it is at a very low level. It is not existent. It is at a low level. Also in Mandukya Karika, there is this argument that why do you think something is unreal? Somebody asks that, or Gaudapada, Acharya Gaudapada, he anticipates this question, that if it is unreal, why can I see it? Why can I perceive it through the five senses, through the mind? So then the guru or the teacher answers, precisely because you can perceive it through your five senses and the mind, it is unreal. Because if an object can be seen, that means it can be perceived by a sense organ, that means it has to be limited in space, time. And so that is unreal. So Sri Ramakrishna, he has, when we read the teachings of Sri Ramakrishna in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, Kathamrita, we find him stressing again and again on certain things. One is, he stresses on holy company. He stresses on doing spiritual practices in the private. He says, mone, bone, kone, means in the mind, in a corner, or in the forest. And he also talks about doing vichar, doing viveka, having discernment. So one thing which we can easily do for discernment is simply carefully observing our three states, of which one is difficult to observe, that is deep sleep, but the other two, dream is also relatively difficult to observe, but at least we can start with the waking state. So that observation we have to start as early as possible, and even if we can do it for one day, we get inspiration to continue it to the next, and then we can do it for 1 week, 1 month, 1 year, etc. And it appears that spiritual practices, if done, they give extraordinary results. But the problem is that most people do not want to do them. Even if you want to, say, get qualified for becoming a teacher, one has to study the school, one has to go to college, have an undergraduate degree, postgraduate, maybe do some PhD. So it takes considerable time. But it seems spiritual life takes much less than that to really progress in spiritual life. But we are not really keen on that. And that is why let us remind ourselves of the famous utterance of Swami Brahmanandaji, who said that if you do this for 4 years and you don't get any result, then you can come and slap me. The fact that nobody slapped him means either they did it and got the result, or they simply didn't do it. So 4 years is nothing compared to what I just now said. You're doing PhD and so many other courses to make a living. So let us concentrate on this Avasthatraya Viveka, because usually it is like this. 16 hours we are awake, and 4 hours we are into deep sleep, and 4 hours we are dreaming, or less than 4 hours we are dreaming. It's like that. So it seems we have to have a sleep of 7 to 9 hours a day. An adult has to sleep 7 to 9 hours a day. In the entire world, Japan is the most sleep-deprived country. There are people who actually did research on that also. So Japan is a country which is most sleep-deprived, and Netherlands is the country which has the most sleep. And India is the second. We are the second most sleep-deprived country. So some decades ago, India started seeing sleep clinics where you can go, something like beauty parlors, where you can go and they will make you sleep. They will actually make you sleep. But there is a big branch of medicine also, which is called sleep medicine, which takes care of different ailments of the body and the mind which affect sleep. And most of you might have experienced that if you have some food items which are kind of tranquilizers and then go to sleep in the afternoon, when you wake from that sleep, this world seems a better place. So we need to put some thought and some time, give some time to this avastha traya viveka. And from that angle, because we, most of us being the followers of Sri Ramakrishna, our goal is, as Sri Ramakrishna repeated over and again, that the goal of human life is to attain God realization. And to do that, this is an excellent path which does not need much prerequisite, much qualification, and we can start doing that in the light of Sri Ramakrishna. Thank you. I thank revered Swami Suparnananda ji for having invited me here to share my thoughts on this topic.
We are extremely thankful to Swami Narasimhananda ji. His exposition has been pedantic, informative and useful. You have noted that the consciousness of physical body, the waking state is necessary for the preservation of the physical body, its problems. Several, disadvantages it experiences. We all know that. And to reduce their, amplitude, I should say, intensity, we need the dream state. And to know what are the troubles giving me trouble. My mind is there. It is devoid of the influences of space and time. He has explained it. So you understand your problems better when you are confronted with dream state. In dream state, you see the functions of your mind only and nothing else. So mind creates a new world and it enjoys that and also suffers from this. So this is mind. And there is a mindlessness state of ours. So what kind of thing it has? It has to offer us. What kind of thing it has to offer us? Mindlessness state, deep sleep. That's why we do not recollect anything in deep sleep state. Mind is not there. The only faculty which has got, which is blessed with feeling. So if there is no feeling, if there is no mind, Swamiji has made it very simple, that is a state of divinity. Jivatman. A Paramatman concept is confusing for the beginners. We all understand. But if you say that this is physical body, conscious of everything, and this is mind, conscious of mind, all physical So all kinds of physical states you can experience in dream without any support. Without any support of space and time. So beautiful. He explained it in a very beautiful way. And then deep sleep, calm and sitting. We are one with Chaitanya in deep sleep. That Turiya state is very, very difficult for us to understand. And in the 13th chapter, Bhagavad Gita explains it. What is that? Khetragyan chapi mang viddhi sarva khetreshu bharata. So this is Khetra, body. And no one of this body is Khetragya. But myself, Bhagavan says, myself, Khetragyan chapi mang viddhi sarva khetreshu bharata. In all bodies, I am present as Khetragya. They have their individual, say, knowledge of themselves. That concept is Turiya. In deep sleep, Nidra, we are one with the mother, Chaitanya Rupini mother. Ya Devi Sabhabhutesu Nidra Rupena Samsthita. I am one with the mother Chaitanya, Mahima, in deep sleep. So I am divine in nature. I am of the nature of divinity itself. For that reason, we need to have the experience of deep sleep. And yet, beautifully explained the need for having dreams. Just to know that you are different from your body. It is your body lying there. It is your body is lying there. Sometimes you dream you see your own body in dream. That you are different from. You have come out of your own body. In the waking state, we cannot differentiate between mind and body. All get mixed up. So very intelligently he put all these things. And it is from the Vedanta side. Of course, these three states. But yoga has its own way to explain it. There are six centers of consciousness. You refer to that. You start from the place of excretion, Muladhara, Svadhisthana, Manipur, these three states, below our navel, Anahata. From that, when mind comes to that level, we start spiritual life. We love spiritual life. We love to sit for meditation or sit for puja, this and that. And here, we see only that. And there, eyebrow, Agga Chakra, when mind is there, we see only the vision of the formless aspect of Godhead. So beyond that, God is one. And below this, truth has got many aspects. So there is multiplicity of existence, truths, but beyond Agga Chakra is oneness. The same thing has been explained by Yoga. Swamiji favors both. Vedanta and Yoga combined. And you have to make your mind purer and purer. মনকে আরো পবিত্র করতে হবে তার জন্য ফিজিক্যাল এক্সিস্টেন্স যে আমাদের আছে ফিজিক্যাল লাইফ যেটা ওয়েকিং স্টেট জাগ্রত অবস্থা সেইটাকে আমাদের ম্যানেজ করতে হবে কন্ট্রোল করতে হবে উই হ্যাভ টু কন্ট্রোল all our sense organs and motor organs including mind by engaging mind itself, it being the king of all these 10 subjects, you have to make it, engage it in benevolent activities. Activities where there you can inculcate the spirit of sacrifice. You serve in a spirit of sacrifice, so that you can have a very calm and composed mind. And that mind sees only the good dreams. You dream only good dreams. In a way, your dreams could be controlled. And Sri Ramakrishna has reiterated in so many times that even in dream, I didn't have this. I didn't have this experience, even in dream. And he took test of this particular aspect on his disciples also. That shows you have to make your mind pure by living a very meaningful life while you are wide awake. I was not very much conscious of the utility of the dream state, but he referred it to that. He enkindled that idea just now. So I thank you, brother, for your beautiful exposition. You have incorporated modern experiments with it also, findings, science. Very nice discussion we did have this morning, and for that I am thankful, extremely thankful to you. And thankful to you, this handful of devotees who have come, braving the inclement weather outside, and those who are viewing it, sitting at home, I thank them too. I request all of you, both here and there, who are on the offline, listen to it repeatedly, at least 2 or 3 times, to have the full grasp of the ideas he expounded right now. Thank you. Namaste.